Awesome. So I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So first, just want to say hello and welcome to the HelioCampus Accreditation Assessment and Credentialing webinar for the KCTCS system. So grateful that you took the time today to explore and learn with us. I'm Veronica Nunez, your sales director and main point of contact here at HelioCampus. I've been supporting higher education through technology for over 20 years now. So this is my passion. This is what I love to do. Just really excited to share the work that we at HelioCampus are doing to support higher education with a focus today on you, right? How we may be able to support each of the KCTCS colleges in their accreditation, assessment, and continuous improvement journey. So a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. For quality control, you are muted, but we do want to hear from you. So if you haven't already, please introduce yourself in the chat by sharing your name, your role, and maybe the college that you represent. We would love to engage with you via that channel, as well as questions, right? So hopefully we will inspire some thought, which will lead to some questions. So there is a Q&A, or you can type in your questions in the chat. We'll likely wait to answer your questions at the end of the session, but please don't hesitate to throw them in there as they come to mind. So I've introduced myself. Want to give the floor over to Suzanne to introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. I am Suzanne Carbonero. I am the Director of Academic Partnerships here at HelioCampus and a practitioner. So I've been working in higher education for 25 plus years prior to coming over full time to help to support our assessment management platform. I supported folks like you, probably work with folks like you as a practitioner, leading assessment across my institution, worked with a number of community colleges as well as four-year institutions on their reaccreditation, on their program review, on day-to-day assessment of student learning. So there's really kind of not any one area that I haven't seen in higher education. I even served as a faculty member for a number of years teaching courses in general education, specifically speech communication, as well as business and education courses. So I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm happy to turn things back over to Veronica to take us through the first portion of today's conversation with you. And I'll jump in a little bit later and take us in for a deep dive into our platform. Veronica?
Thank you, Suzanne. So as you're now aware, in November, we did finalize a contract with the KCTCS system to become the preferred provider of accreditation and assessment management technology for all of the 16 KCTCS colleges. So what this means that if you like what you see today, you're able to move forward without having to go through the time-intensive procurement and RFP process. So certainly it's clear that the KCTCS system values having an easy way to conduct and collect authentic assessment for continuous improvement, as well as your time as a practitioner is well spent in looking at the data versus trying to connect all the different data points across your institution manually. So thank you to your leaders, and we do have some college presidents and high-level administrators here with us today. So thank you for your work in what you're doing and leading your institution towards a seamless process for collecting and reviewing data on student learning and institutional effectiveness. So I do have my contact information here on the screen, but following this presentation, I will be in touch with an email to share a copy of the slides as well. So this is our hope of what you will learn as a result of our conversation today. So hopefully at the conclusion of today's presentation, we will have learned the flexible ways in which HelioCampus assessment can support your continuous improvement, streamline your student learning outcomes assessment, support your annual assessment planning and regional and programmatic accreditation reports. And as far as an agenda, I will plan to kick us off with a brief HelioCampus overview. That will hopefully set the stage for the main part of the conversation today, which Suzanne will walk us through. So she'll provide us with a high-level assessment overview before jumping into a demo for a platform. So again, we welcome your questions throughout. There, you can type them into the Q&A or the chat. And certainly if there's an opportunity, we'll answer. If not, we'll wait to the very end. All right, so I will begin with our story. So our origins, the HelioCampus was born out of the University of Maryland Global Campus in 2010. So we were actually part of the university in the form of the Institutional Effectiveness Office. And the catalyst for starting HelioCampus was that the university was going through unprecedented enrollment volatility and fiscal challenges, so much so that it called into question the viability of the institution. So the president's cabinet at the time turned to data analytics, or to data, for informed and strategic decision making. And so it was through the technology and the data analysis that the university went from a forecasted $40 million plus operating deficit to 3 years later having a $50 million surplus. The Board of Regents took notice, and so in 2016, HelioCampus spun out of UMGC to serve higher education. So we are exclusively focused on higher education. Fast forward to 2020, we acquired a benchmarking company to provide benchmarking capabilities. In 2021, HelioCampus adds assessment capabilities, which is our focus today, to kind of round out our broader institutional effectiveness strategy. And so across the 3 lines of business, we now serve over 150 institutions across the US. So pretty diverse, 2-year, 4-year, public, private, large, small institutions are all represented in our portfolio. So, you know, taking us to the conversation today. So you're living through a variety of internal and external pressures in your day-to-day at your institution. There are a number of policies to follow, requirements to execute, teaching and learning outcomes to meet. So today we're going to take a deeper dive into how HelioCampus can support you in your work, with a specific focus on gathering evidence to demonstrate your institutional effectiveness. Our framework, the HelioCampus framework for integrated planning for institutional effectiveness, is what you see on the screen. For data analytics, this is our legacy technology where HelioCampus started. Typically, you know, President's Cabinet is, you know, this initiative typically comes out of President or President's Cabinet working with CIOs to get a better understanding of the student life cycle, as well as to look at the sustainability of academic programs. Financial intelligence platform, typically for CFOs looking for benchmarking or financial modeling. So long-term financial planning is part of our financial intelligence platform. Today, we're going to focus on assessment and credentialing, specifically on accreditation, assessment, and skills and achievement. Suzanne?
Thank you. So our colleagues at AALHE, which is an assessment organization, and SCUP, which is the Society for College and University Planning, kicked off an extensive study into institutional effectiveness and determined through an expansive literature review that IE can be seen as both a noun and a verb. Institutional effectiveness offices lead the assessment of IE, but it is not done in isolation from the rest of your institution, who provide evidence of institutional effectiveness through their work across the unit. So the orange boxes in the diagram show the external reporting that stems from the data collection and review in the green boxes. And then the blue boxes are all part of the units contributing to IE. When integrated planning is truly happening, there is a clear understanding of where strengths and areas for improvement lie within the institution, and a clear indicator of where resources need to be in pursuit of meeting your mission. This transformation from data collection to data-driven actions has led to IE 2.0, or Integrated Institutional Effectiveness. IE 2.0 requires a new way of thinking and calls for an inclusive, integrated process to collect and review evidence across the institution, which has been typically siloed. HelioCampus helps to bring you together using data collected across the ecosystem, helping to articulate the level of operational efficiency, manage costs, and student success that is now required for institutions in order to stay competitive and relevant. It's our platform that can help enable your stakeholders to have their eyes on the data to plan and set into motion their institutional strategy. HelioCampus offers a holistic approach to assessment planning, where faculty, staff, students, and other stakeholders can actively contribute in shaping the direction of their institution through the use of data to support their decision-making and growth. We work with institutions of all sizes and types, R1 universities, private, public, four-year institutions, HBCUs, professional programs, technical colleges like yourself, as well as community colleges. Now, they all come to us for different purposes, but there's one thing that kind of unifies why everybody winds up coming over to us and wants to use our system to support them. And that is, they're looking to add value to the student experience and the future career success. So they're bringing these, kinds of initiatives to the table when they meet with us, and they're saying, you know what, we want the students to be able to see the data. We want to be able to look at the data ourselves and be able to unpack how we might be able to better support our mission. Finally, we provide visibility into data that validates that your institution is progressing towards its mission, allowing you to secure the reaccreditation, assess the outcomes that you have, and overarchingly improve the student experience. And so you can kind of see in this slide, and it's something you can probably dig into later, that we've worked with different institutions of all different sizes. Messiah, smaller institution in the middle of Pennsylvania, Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, University of Minnesota, large R1, and they're coming to us because they have these initiatives that are linked to their mission, linked to their strategic plan, and they would like, a seamless way to collect this data and share the data with the different stakeholders. So now let's dive further into the offerings. So our focus will be on assessment and credentialing, which can meet you where you are today, but take you where you're going. We want to support you through your continuous journey in serving your students, your faculty, staff, and alumni in their quest for data to support their growth and improvement. And so our assessment and planning feature set helps institutions, kind of answer these questions. And actually, when we created these essential questions, we did it with our academic partners at different events and different settings throughout the last 6 months. And these are the kinds of questions they were asking, about can departments across your institution collaborate to collect and share data and link evidence to your self-study? Do you have a collaborative system to write and collect evidence, and etc.? And so through our accreditation and planning platform, we're able to bring folks together and automate some of your existing assessment and accreditation processes, but give you that time back to actually dig into the data. Our outcomes assessment feature, it helps institutions to efficiently evaluate courses, programs, and student learning through a variety of assessment methods via a tight integration with your learning management system. So today I'm going to take you into Blackboard, but I will tell you that it is vendor agnostic. So when we look to streamline, the assessment processes and what's going on in courses, if you're using, Blackboard today, as I said, you might switch to another learning management system in the future. It really doesn't matter because we're actually integrating at a standard level, and I'll be able to spend some more time, and I have a visual actually that explains that. But again, these are the kinds of questions that you might be asking. Does your institution have the ability to collect course, program, accreditor, and institutional outcomes data in one central place? And then lastly, and Veronica is moving me along, is the whole idea of skills and achievements. And there's not an institution right now that's not having that conversation or is already in the middle of an initiative that will help you sort of think about how you're linking your outcomes to skills and curate a modern credential system aligned to essential outcomes, aligned to what employers are looking for, and connected to the workforce needs in your area and beyond. So we do offer a comprehensive learner record and skills and achievement platform that can help you credential, can help you badge, and actually present that data back to students in a digital form through a standard type that they can share with employers. Well, how do we get there? Well, HelioCampus is going to play nicely with the other systems on your campus, and we are committed to interoperability and those technical standards in higher education. The first place where we integrate is your student information system, and we do so on a nightly basis, either through an API or through a flat file exchange. So as I said, it's going to update nightly. It's going to give us, if there was some sort of exchange of information, a student dropped out of a course or added a course, a faculty member was moved from one course section to another to accommodate whatever need, it's going to bring that most up-to-date information into the system. Throughout the day, we're also going to be clicking into your learning management system, and any changes that go on throughout the day there, we're able to present our assessment management platform right within the LMS, keeping the faculty member and the student in the course section, not having to come out and actually fill out another form that's separate and worrying about another password to get into another system. We present the learning management system with the ability to click a button and you will see the assessment platform right there. And as students submit work and faculty score work, this is updated so that you have the most up-to-date information for your reporting. And then lastly, I don't know if this is the most important, but it's definitely important to folks when it comes to worrying about usernames and passwords. We want to integrate at your single sign-on. So that SSO, that authentication, that username or password that you use to get into your main systems, your email being one of them, maybe the learning management system as we talked about before, it will be the same way that you will log into our platform. So we are proud members of One EdTech that help to bring these standards of interoperability, as well as INCOM and Identity Federation for that easy single sign-on. So at this point, there's a small group of us here today, but if you're watching this on the recording, I hope you can sort of think about this. Which of the following best represents your current method for collecting data for improvement and reporting? And it's a no judgment zone. So if you could think about that for a moment, if you know that answer or how it might impact you directly, are you using things like Word docs or SharePoint drives? Maybe you've moved into Google Docs. Maybe most of the data that you're collecting is actually sitting within the learning management system and you're running reports, or maybe you're having some difficulty in getting those reports, or maybe you're using another cloud-based software. So as you think about that for a moment, I'll have you answer, and then we'll take a look at what that looks like. All right, I think that's probably enough time. Did we get any feedback? Wonderful, we did. And most people on this call, at least today, and if you're thinking about this at home, this might represent you as well, Word documents and SharePoint Drive. So that's good to know. And I know, again, we have a small sample size here, but as you're thinking about this at home, you may have another method that you are using that may or may not be working for you. All right, so now I want to take a deeper dive into the assessment platform. And at this point, what's going to happen is I'm going to wind up sharing my screen with all of you. If there are questions as we make that slight transition, I'd encourage you to throw those into the chat box. Otherwise, I am going to bring up Blackboard at this point. And I just want to ensure that thumbs up that we see this to my team. Wonderful. Okay, so I am logged into a thermodynamics course. I'm a faculty member, and I am teaching this course at a given term. And similar to how you would be able to use within your platform a textbook to support your course, or perhaps you are using some sort of online platform to deliver your course, you'd have the ability to sort of link on a tool within, or a widget right within the learning management platform. And when you click that button, it actually brings that textbook in or brings that third-party platform in. Here is how you would bring in the actual platform into our platform, into the actual learning management system. And so you can kind of see here, I'm seeing, everything that I would expect to see in the platform right in front of me. One thing I do want to kind of point out is sort of like the behind the scenes. So if I was like to sort of go back into, just kind of go into my institution and my courses for a moment, just to kind of show you. So I have my course list here, and where I'm, headed is, clicking on this specific course. I'm clicking on the actual tools, and those are those kinds of widgets that I'm talking about here. When I do click on, the APHIS tools, I am able to see, that assessment platform come to me. We saw the dashboard before, but where I really like to kind of drill in is if you have what we call our syllabus management template set up, it will bring the student and the faculty member right to the syllabus. And as you can see here, this is a template that is customized, that will be voted on likely by your faculty senate, and it provides for you perhaps a consistent way for all faculty to look at a syllabi, a consistent way certainly for students to look at syllabi, and then an ability for administrators to export syllabi very easily and bring that into other reporting. So self-study, maybe you're going through course review or course revision, you'd be able to easily access this and bring this to a curricular committee or some other kind of process that you're in. So again, the learning management system winds up being the place where most of your students and faculty are spending their time. And so why make them go out of that to do assessment? It should all be in one place. As you can kind of see here, this was an example of how we'd be feeding the student information system data into our platform. So you can see the course and the course section and the different instructors of record. In addition, you're able to identify your course learning outcomes. They will automatically push right within the syllabus platform, any kind of program outcomes or institutional outcomes that have been linked to that course, so a student knows what else they're going to be expected to learn, or that these are the skills essentially that they will be earning as a result of this course. This will all, show up on the syllabus, and then all the other regular sections that you would normally see. I do want to point out that the academic policies is really nice because within our platform, we have an institutional hierarchy, and it will push all the academic policies for the college, for a course, for the institution right within the platform. So a faculty member does not need to create a syllabus every semester from scratch. And as a former faculty member, I'd have to go get that syllabus that I used last time. It would take me hours to kind of organize everything, pull in all those other additional details like policies. Here, this copies over semester after semester, and it presents back to the faculty member according to your term. So however you present that course back to the faculty member, is it when does it open, that course shell? Is it 4 weeks before? Is it 6 weeks before? Is it 2 weeks before? Whatever that is, we're going to match that, present this syllabus in draft back to that faculty member, have them update maybe some of the information that they would update, like course materials, and then boom, it publishes and it becomes part of the course. In addition, we're going to give some additional items to the faculty member and the student. If you use our course evaluation and feedback solution, the student will be able to take their course evaluations right from the learning management system, as you can kind of see here, and a faculty member could access their results right here. In addition, because we're integrated with the email system, students will get an email as well. But sometimes it's nice just to log into the learning management system, have everything that I'm supposed to do in front of me as a student, and boom, I have a course evaluation, boom, I'll click it. In addition, what we present the faculty member is the ability to link their key assessments with the specific outcomes. So if I take, for instance, this particular key assessment, it's linked to a course learning outcome here, solve problems. I, as a faculty member, can select from all the assignments that I have within my course, which ones best meet this course learning outcome so that that data rolls up into reports. This is done once, copies over semester after semester. Every time I teach the course, I can check. If I've changed an assignment, I can easily go in and relink it. And very simple. Right now I have this drawing assignment that I chose in an ETS assignment. That's something that's coming in from a third party. I could say that's not, the key assessment anymore. We've changed that exam, and I'd be able to select the other appropriate assignment. So maybe it's this one or, this other one here. And if there's criteria for Blackboard, this is something that we're sort of working on now, is they're going to be opening their APIs to link down to the rubric criteria. So that's going to be really exciting. And so you'll be able to pull that level of detail, and you can see that change can happen. So in addition to that, if you're a director of assessment, like I was for many years, this can all be accomplished outside of the learning management system and in place of the faculty member doing it. So we are seeing faculty members contribute to assessment and this be part of their day-to-day way of working. We have also seen that directors of assessment could actually do that same linking within our platform. They'll have all the course and course sections that they're overseeing. If it's an administrative person within a college, if it's an administrative person within a program, they would just have what is assigned to them. And then they simply would do the same kind of linking here on behalf of the faculty member. Bottom line, once that assignment is linked, you can run the reports. So we've talked about syllabus, we've talked about the key assignment linking. One more thing I'd like to do before I jump out of the learning management system, and that is I wanted to show a report. So as a faculty member contributes to assessment, they will also have the ability to access the various reports that are, reflective of the courses that they're teaching. So you can see here, I can click on assessment data as a faculty member, and I will be able to see the specific assessment data associated with my program. And you'll be able to see here that anything that's been linked institutionally as well as programmatically will show up in a report like this with the ability to drill down into the individual assignments and how students performed on the proficiency scale. This can then be exported, printed out, and I mentioned earlier, I was a Speech 101 instructor. We had 25 sections of Speech 101. We could get together and talk about what area on the rubric, especially if we were using the same, and in my institution we were, what area on the rubric were the students most struggling with, drill down to figure out why, and address that issue now. And the issue that we found in my example is that students weren't citing sources correctly. And we saw that across multiple sections of this course. And as a team, we got together and said, you know what, we need library resources. We need to get the library involved with this and teach students how to actually access this. And once we did that, it really cleaned that up, because if they go to advanced courses and they don't address this need now, it's going to come up again and again. And when it's more high stakes, it's more difficult for the student. So how did we get here? Well, we got here because behind the scenes, besides the assignment linking, is that we have an entire program design that allows you to set up your program maps, and you might have them already. We talked about SharePoint Drive and where these data might live. You probably have them already, and they may not be as robust as you'd like to. This might be an opportunity to link institutional outcomes, program outcomes, and accreditation standards, in one map. Maybe it's too cumbersome now, but we can do that for you in the platform. The first thing we do as part of our onboarding is we're going to bring in all of your outcome sets that could be part of that curricular map. So think for a moment, you have a number of programs, you have nursing programs, you have technician programs, you have likely programs that prepare students for their four-year degree. Whatever those are and whatever those frameworks are, we can bring them in. So teacher education, you might have specific frameworks that you're using. Think also workforce, right? Your workforce frameworks. What are those? Or do you have partnerships with the employers in your region where a lot of your students are attaining jobs? Your strategic planning goals. Those are all pre-populated into the platform, set up for you, ready to go for you to be able to start that curriculum mapping. We're also going to bring in all of your programs and all of your courses, your program learning outcomes, and your course learning outcomes. Again, setting up that curricular map. So essentially, you're backward designing your curricular map so that the report that you get is the one that you can use and is meaningful for you and for the folks that are going to be reviewing that report and making changes, submitting it for reaccreditation, etc. Let's go into a mathematics BA program for an example. So as part of this setup, we will be able to bring in the outcome sets, and you'll also be able to set something called your proficiency scale. So your proficiency scale might look something like this. It might be 6 levels. It might replicate the AAC and U value rubrics. Whatever that is, you'll be able to name these accordingly. That's customized. You'll be able to name your performance goal and establish what that is. You can lock this down and push this to all of your programs, or for your other programmatic accredited programs, you might leave that open for them so that they can customize their proficiency scale. This is all part of the program design. We're going to then bring in what are the appropriate outcome sets. You might have a nursing program, a nursing technician program that you are looking to assess in the mathematics BA. Maybe that's part of the foundation. You might have NACE competencies, state standards, as well as your undergraduate institutional outcomes. They can all be part of that curricular map. And then what you're doing, and this is done once, and then you collect the data, is you're going to relate your program outcomes, in this case, communicate mathematics, with the appropriate institutional outcome, with the appropriate state standard or accreditation standard, and even strategic planning goal. And that's all done here. And then all of your educational experiences will be inside this platform, as well as any co-curricular experiences. They can all be mapped the same way. So think about those programs that you have for badging, for co-curricular, as part of maybe service learning. Those can all be mapped. And then the mapping is happening here. So all of the courses, if you're using course learning outcomes, they're mapped to the appropriate level. You can notice here that I have Bloom's taxonomy sort of set together here for me. So this is mapped at the emphasis level. This one is mapped at the introduction level. And I am able to make that alignment so that when I run my report, I can run the report as deep as the course learning outcome and as high up as the state standard or the institutional outcome. If I'm not using course learning outcomes, I can map directly to the course. Very flexible, and it should mimic what it is that you all are doing. I would like to kind of pause for a second. I'm just going to make sure Veronica's probably watching the chat. If there are chatting, either that or I'm putting you to sleep, but I hope that something is percolating there and marinating in your brain as we're kind of talking through this. If you do have a question, I'm happy to look at it. You're happy to put it in if you want to. Otherwise, I'll continue on, and if there is a question, I will pause. So we talked about aligning outcomes and standards and workforce frameworks, for instance. we know that you are preparing students for all different kinds of careers, technicians, etc. And so if you had to add additional outcome sets down the road, you made a partnership with the local hospital, a lot of students are being hired there, you'd be able to bring in that outcome set and do that alignment at any time. So I wanted you to know how flexible this is. The other thing that I wanted to show you is we do have a number of reports that mimic, kind of what we've been doing so far. So we looked at the faculty report a little while ago, but let's look at a report at a higher level. So if I'm a program coordinator in the nursing program, for instance, and we sort of talked about like looking at, developmental levels. We have certain degrees, minors, and concentrations. So you can disaggregate all this way. And I know Veronica already knows in her head that she's got a document that she'll probably share with you, which kind of brings together some of the most popular reports inside the platform. So we'll make sure that you get that. But this one's going to kind of give you a deeper dive of what's happening. So longitudinally, how are students performing on this set of outcomes? And so any outcome that we bring into the platform that you link to assessment, you can report on here. I chose nursing, here to kind of show you this is happening over multiple semesters. And when I drill down into like kind of what's feeding this, here's all the courses that this data is pulling to make this chart. And then it can bring me all the way back down to that course section. And remember, we looked at that from the faculty perspective. So if I'm a dean of a college, if I'm a director of a program, I will have access to the reports that are meaningful for me, and then I can share them, print them, export them in a variety of different ways for the various stakeholders, including for your specific external review, SAC-COC, or programmatic self-study. And we have a number of reports that this is a pretty robust reporting platform. The next place that I want to go is actually what happens when data is not being collected in Blackboard. For instance, data that's happening, as part of your administrative services units. Maybe you run a career center and students pop in for feedback on their resume. Maybe you have a food pantry at your institution, and through student life and services, you essentially are collecting data on that. What happens? How does that get collected? It's not a course. It's not a co-curricular experience built out of the learning management system, or even some of your academic programs might not be using the learning management system to collect that assessment data. We have something called a data collection, which is a form and workflow solution, which enables you to set up a customized form with customized questions to ask those program or unit liaisons how they are collecting data and meeting outcomes institutionally, strategic planning wise, and even accreditation standards. So let's dive into one. You can kind of see here I have ones for new program approval and course recommendation and improvement plans. So think of like an initiative that you might have that's more manual, that's kind of happening through the SharePoint drive. And could you automate or unify that through a customized form and workflow process? So we're going to dive into an annual assessment planning and reporting. It's something that is required of SACs, to be able to pull those program reports. It might be something you do every year. It might be something that is on a rotating schedule every 3 years, etc. And so what happens here is we are integrated with your email system as well. And so you can set up a schedule. This can be open on a specific activation date, and it will start and then it will end, at a specific time period. You'll be able to set up notifications of that this is happening, that it's now available, and then those reminders. These can all be automated within the platform, and so that you can kind of set this up and just start collecting the data. Then you will set up a workflow configuration. We build this for you. So you tell us what you're doing now, how you might want to convert those Word documents or other processes that you have that are more manual into a more digital format. And instead of pinging everybody emails and you don't know what version it is, here we have the ability to ping the program coordinator and ask them to fill out that customized form that you've created. They can put in outcomes, measures, and targets. This could get approved by their unit manager. It could get approved by the dean or some other person before it maybe goes to institutional effectiveness for final review. Once it's approved, it's going to go back to the program coordinator and say, okay, give me your data, give me your findings and your data-driven actions. Now that you know that X number of students are accessing the food pantry, or X number of students are coming in for, help at the writing center or at the career center for resume, what are you doing? How are you reacting to that data? What will you do next time to make this better? So this can all be collected in this form, and then it will follow the workflow that you've set. I've seen 8-step, 10-step, 12-step, 5-step workflows. It can be very simple, or it can have more and more stakeholders. But remember, for SAC-COC, one of the things you are writing about is your collaborative approach to assessment. We talked about IE 2.0 a little while ago, about how everything is kind of coming together and integrated. This is a great opportunity to bring the data together in one place. And then what you're doing is you're going to essentially monitor this if you're overseeing a workflow, and you can kind of see how many people are at what step and what are the programs that are participating in this. So you'll be able to add the programs in. If they're all every semester or every year, if everybody's doing this, great. You can present the data back from last time and say, okay, this is what you said last time. What's changed? What else are you learning about your program, etc. So it's not like they're repeating everything every year. They're updating, and it constantly gives you the ability to monitor what are folks doing that is new and progressive. What are folks doing that essentially hasn't changed, but it's working, and they're getting great feedback. This is a place to document all of that. And to just kind of close the loop on all of this, I can report out on every single program. Every one of the headers of the form that I'm going to show you in a minute is reportable for every single program, and longitudinally anytime this is launched. Some folks actually will do a administrative unit data collection and an academic data collection. And they might be slightly different because folks that are on the academic side are more used to assessment and probably don't need as much feedback on what's measurable, as opposed to maybe somebody on your administrative services side, marketing, financial aid, etc. So I'm going to log in as a program coordinator so you can see what a form might look like. Again, this is just an example of one. I'm going to go into this mathematics and statistics program as an example. And you'll see, keep this in mind. So I got an email that I'm the program coordinator for mathematics and statistics. I've been assigned to fill this form out. I take the link in my email and this opens up. If I'm teaching a course in the learning management system, I can click the little pencil icon, which is right over here, just to kind of bring you back, because people are going to access this at all different ways. It's going to be related to how people want to work, right? I work differently than Veronica, and the rest of my team. So we want to be able to mimic best how folks work. So if having an action item pane right within the learning management system gives me the access that I need, great. I can work right out of the learning management system. I can work right out of my email. Really doesn't matter. We want to give multiple ways. Here, I'm going to present, the different sections of the report. If I'm asking them in the beginning to provide the mission of the mathematics and statistics program, the first time around, the second time around, we're asking you to look at it. Is this the same mission? Have you made a change? If you did, document why. So this is, your form, however you want to structure this. The next part of this you'll see is that they will be presented their program outcomes, and they're going to be asked to make a relevant association, whatever that might be. It might be the strategic planning goals. It might be the institutional outcomes. It could be standards. It could be workforce frameworks. It could be all of that you're asking them to say, how does communication skills relate to the strategic planning goals and the and the institutional outcomes? So if I was to just choose a different one, you can see here on this one, I'm choosing critical thinking. That's the second one. And I can choose from the list. It's related to, right now I have it related to the experience. I could switch it to number 2. And then I can click on critical thinking, which I have at the institution level, and maybe it's also empathy. Then I need to give you our measures, the measure description, any supporting documentation, a rubric, a form a student fills out if they're going to the pantry, or if they're going to the career services or the financial aid meeting, and then a target. 80% of the students will, right? So you'll be able to type that in. They want to add a link, they want to add additional information, they can go all the way down to all of their program outcomes, or maybe you're only asking them to look at 2. They'll go to the end of the form and they'll submit the form. If they need to add an outcome because they've changed an outcome from last year to this year, they can add the outcome right here. So this is to support and streamline the assessment process, especially if you're not using the learning management system or in the process of switching that. The very last thing that I want to kind of show in the platform before we kind of bring it all home into a summary. And again, if there is a question, I'm happy to answer it. And there isn't at this point, only that I'm being told I know there's 10 minutes, which I'm a good use of time. So I will be very careful here. So the last thing, and I probably won't be able to get to all of this at this point because of time, but we do have an entire webinar dedicated to just self-study. And I know we'd be happy to send that to you. And if you had additional questions, we can walk you through it. But we do have a self-study platform. We will load your SAC COC or any other, I should say, template that you need for accreditation and program review. We have folks that are using our platform for program review. You could have 60 different programs going through program review. We showed a version of that in the data collection and workflow, but if you have a template that you're using and you want to capture that in here, you absolutely can. But let's take a look at the SAC COC one. As I said, part of our onboarding includes adding the template. The template is also customizable. So if you have additional sections that you want to put in, if you have a pandemic addendum that you need to put in, yesterday we had a tornado go through New Jersey. I am from New Jersey. And if that did something to the structure of the institution and we couldn't meet in person, I'd have to have some kind of tornado plan in my self-study. All of that is doable and documentable in our platform. So although you have your traditional sections, you might have a preamble. You might want to have a section on your administration that you want to highlight as part of this reaffirmation. In addition, we are going to populate for you the ability to add evidence into the evidence bank for this self-study. Now, this is the self-study for SAC COC, but what if I am the program director for our teacher education program. What if I have to do a self-study as well? Not only are we going to load that self-study for you in that template, but we're going to activate the evidence bank site-wide so that anybody that needs data from an evidence bank to bring into a self-study or program review, they'll be able to do that and pull that in and assign that evidence to the self-study and tag it to the appropriate standard. So you can see here, I have a series of different items that are in my self-study platform already. And to kind of show you how that would sort of come together, the different sections of the report, I'll be able to assign individual writers of each section. I will be able to have them submit content for review. I have a rubric that will be associated, which is customizable, similar to what you saw earlier in the data collection, being able to customize the form, the workflow. In the program, we saw you could customize the proficiency scale. So all of this is customizable here. And then, when an individual goes in, and this is something you're used to, it looks like a Word document. It looks like OpenOffice 360. So you have that, or it looks like a Google Doc. You have the ability to then bring in the appropriate evidence in here through what we call a plugin. And so if I was to click on the actual evidence viewer, I'd be able to say, I want to insert the evidence, and it's only going to bring the pieces of evidence that have been tagged to that specific standard. So you don't have to go through the minutia of an entire big evidence bank. Once that's sort of tagged and brought in, it will look like this. And then essentially a person could preview this document, be able to add a cover sheet, be able to add a customized border with your logo or any other kind of specialization that your marketing team wants to kind of pull together for you, or a structure that the marketing plan says this is the way it needs to look. This will take a second to load. As you're probably familiar, there's 86 or so standards in the SAC-COC decennial report, and these are our partners over at TCU that used us for not just their decennial report, but also their focused reports and conversations back and forth with reviewers. You can see that it's 95 pages, and it's bringing together, using the format that you would require, all of the evidence. I can, look at the evidence right here, right within the actual document. It will open up the faculty handbook in a hot second. As you can see that it's there. And then if I want to, kind of look at it, it's telling me if you want to look at the references, if you press, control and then take the link, it's going to bring me to the references page, all printable and exportable into the flash drive that is required for SAC-COC at this point. So I'm going to come out of this and just summarize for you, and keeping an eye on if there are questions. I see Veronica put some documentation and links inside the platform for y'all. You can see here that there's a number of benefits that you would have available to you. You're maintaining local copies of your assessment reports. You're engaging your faculty and staff through that integration of the learning management system. You can design your customized forms and workflow for closing the loop and action planning, tagging evidence, as we just looked at, staying ready for accreditation versus getting ready, very different feeling. And then, of course, creating meaningful assessment processes beyond self-study. It's more for continuous improvement, something that you can do every single day. As Veronica had put inside the chat, you could also take the QR code. It will bring you to this specific crosswalk that we've created for you about a deeper dive into how we support you in the self-study. So you're able to kind of look at this in a more deep way, maybe bring it to your colleagues who aren't on this call today. We also have the link to the decennial report and beyond. This was a case study that I had the wonderful opportunity to co-write with David Allen, who is the Institutional Effectiveness Executive Director at TCU. And I'm going to just turn this finally back to Veronica, something that we said in the beginning, just to kind of remind everybody, that this is here for all of you. And then I have one last poll question. You know what? Let me do the poll question first. And then
we do have a question, Suzanne, if you want to.
Yeah, I'll take it. Are you doing anything to prepare for the shift away from the jump drive? Yes. And I'm so glad that you asked that question, Alan. Absolutely, we are. So we do have a lot of folks, actually, SAC-COC is like one of the only still like using the jump drive format for maintaining their accreditation. So yes, we work with middle stakes and HLC who don't use the jump drive. Everything that is exportable into our various references and everything that we kind of talked about, having the review process sort of happening, you'll be able to replicate and use for SAC-COC beyond and promised for the next 3 to 4 years, we hope. But yes, any other formats in which you need to present that data, portals and whatnot, we already support our middle states folks, our HLC folks with different ways to meet those demands. So stay tuned, Alan. And yes, we're here for the long haul. As a matter of fact, Alan, I'll probably make you excited about this. We do have a report that is getting its finishing touches in our platform that exports the faculty credentialing. So what is that, 6.2 for SAC-COC? So we'll have that fully formatted. You can tag it and bring it right into your evidence for writing that part of the narrative. I have this here in case you want to schedule a personalized consultation for your college. If you think you do and you'd like to spend some more time with us and we can dig into some of your specifications, we could do that separately. So just click on this. I know Veronica will check in with you anyway, but feel free to answer that question. And Veronica, I want to just kind of turn it back to you and reiterate your role in all of this.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. Really appreciate you walking us through all of that. So just to wrap up, KCTCS, we're thrilled for the partnership and would love the opportunity to connect with each of you. And so if there is interest, I'm Veronica Nunez. I'll be your main point of contact. I will be following up via email to include a copy of the slides that we reviewed together, as well as a link to the recording. And so in follow-up to that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to help. Thank you again for taking the time to join us today. And I hope our paths cross again soon. Thank you very much.